I also invoke his blessings upon the Holy Prophet ﷺ, for whose sake alone God has established this Jamaat. The successes I am achieving are the result of the Holy Prophet's grace. I unreservedly declare, and this indeed is my belief and faith, that without implicit submission to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and without following in his footsteps, no one can attain spiritual grace and bounty. Another point worth mentioning, which it would be ungrateful of me not to mention, is that we live, by the grace of God, under the government of a kingdom which ensures peace all around and allows complete freedom to propagate and publicize our faith. We are also privileged to enjoy all kinds of facilities in these blessed days. Can there be greater freedom than that we openly criticize Christianity and no one stops us from doing so? But there was a time, and many who witnessed it are still alive, when no Muslim dared even to proclaim the azan, call for prayer, from the mosques. Not to speak of other sanctions, we could not even eat what was permissible in our religion. Action used to be taken without holding proper inquiry. But, by God's grace, we now live under a government which is free from these defects. It is peace-loving and does not object to holding different religious views. Under its legal system, everyone is free to carry out his religious obligations. Since God had willed that our message should spread all around, He caused us to be born in this empire. We admire this government just as the Holy Prophet ﷺ admired the rule of Noshirvan. It is an admitted fact that since an appointee of God brings the message of justice and truth, these qualities appear on earth in anticipation, as it were, even before God's appointee makes his appearance. I can say with confidence that the present government is far better than the Empire of Rome in the days of Jesus ﷺ. Although the real framework of the two governments is somewhat similar, it has to be conceded that the laws of this government are subservient to none. A comparison of the laws of the two governments reveals an element of barbarity in the Roman Empire. At the same time, we also see a demonstration of cowardice when Jesus Christ ﷺ, the righteous and chosen of God, was put behind bars out of fear of Jews. A similar case was filed against me, with the difference that while the case against Jesus ﷺ was brought up by the Jews, in my case it was a reverend clergyman and doctor, that is, Dr. Martin Clark, who accused me of attempted murder. The evidence he mustered seemed thorough, so much so that even Maulvi Abu Said Muhammad Hussain Batalvi, an arch-enemy of this Jamaat, appeared as a witness and did his utmost to establish the case against me. The case was heard by Captain Douglas, the Deputy Commissioner of Gurdaspur, who is now posted probably at Shimla. The case was duly heard and completed, and all the witnesses against me were produced with great fanfare and clamour. In the circumstances, not even the best of lawyers could say that I would be acquitted. The prevailing situation and other factors demanded that the case be committed to the Sessions, who could have sentenced me to transportation for life or even to death. But just as God forewarned me about the case, so did He reveal to me in advance that I would be acquitted. A large number of people belonging to my Jamaat knew about this revelation. When the case reached a stage when the prosecution and my opponents believed that the magistrate would commit the case to the Sessions, Captain Douglas told the police superintendent that he had a hunch that the case was a frame-up, and he couldn't believe that such an attempt was ever made and that the defendant sent someone to murder Dr. Clark. He asked the superintendent to investigate the case himself. This was the time when not only were my opponents busy plotting against me, but those who claimed that their prayers were heard and accepted were tearfully soliciting God to punish me. But who can fight God? I also know that some people approached Captain Douglas and tried to influence him, but he, being a just and fair magistrate, told them that he could not be a party to such an outrage. In short, when the case was entrusted to Captain Le Marchand for a renewed investigation, he summoned Abdul Hamid and told him to state the truth. Abdul Hamid repeated the same old story he had related before the Deputy Commissioner. Actually, At the very start, he was warned that the slightest deviation from his original statement would render him liable to prosecution, but that is why he repeated the same statement he had made earlier on. The police superintendent told him that he had already related the same story, but the deputy commissioner was not satisfied that he was telling the truth. When Captain Le Marchand again told him to tell the truth, he started crying and fell at the feet of the captain, imploring him for protection. The captain reassured him and told him to go ahead. At this, he came out with the truth. He confessed that he had been coerced into making his earlier statement and deposed that Mirza Sahib had never sent him to murder anyone. The captain was overjoyed at this statement and sent a telegram to the deputy commissioner that he had solved the case. The case once again came up for hearing at Gurdaspur. Captain Le Marchand was sworn in and recorded his affidavit. I could notice that the deputy commissioner was visibly pleased that the truth had come out. But he was also furious at the Christians who had given false evidence against me. Addressing me, he said that I had the right to file a suit against them. But, as I am totally disinclined to litigation, I said I didn't want to enter into any litigation, for my suit was filed with God. At this, Captain Douglas straightway wrote down the judgment and read it out to a large number of people who had gathered there. Addressing me, he said, "Congratulations, you stand acquitted." You can see for yourselves how commendable it is of this government that for the sake of justice and fair play, no consideration whatsoever was allowed to influence the court, not even when a prominent member of the judge's own religious community was involved. At the time, it seemed as if the whole world was lined up against me, and this is what usually happens, that when people decide to hurt you, the whole world turns against you. It is God alone who comes to the rescue of his true servants. Then another case was filed against me in the court of Mr. Dowie, and was followed by yet another concerning income tax. By the grace of God, my innocence was established in all of them. Then came Karamdeen's case, in which every effort was made against me, and it was assumed that the case would sound the death knell of this Jamaat. Indeed, had the Jamaat not been from God, and had he not sustained and strengthened it, it would no doubt have been wiped out. People from one end of the country to the other lent their support to Karamdeen. He was aided and abetted in every way, so much so that some of the prosecution witnesses, despite their claim to being religious divines, testified to what was totally false. They went to the extent of alleging that despite being an adulterer, a transgressor, and a libertine, I dared claim to be righteous. The case dragged on for a long time. During this period, a number of heavenly signs appeared. At long last, the judgment was announced by the magistrate, who happened to be a Hindu, imposing a fine of 500 rupees on me. But God had already informed me, the superior court acquits. Therefore, when the appeal was filed in the court of the divisional judge, he, in his God-given shrewdness, at once got to the bottom of the case and noted in the judgment that whatever I had written about Karamdeen was absolutely correct, and I had full right to do so. The judgment he passed has since been published. In the end, he acquitted me of the charge and ordered the refund of the fine. He also censured the trial court for letting the case linger so long. In short, my opponents have never missed an opportunity to crush me and have left no stone unturned to destroy me. But, just as God has protected all the prophets through sheer grace, he also has protected me from all fires. Against the backdrop of these events, I can say with all the emphasis at my command that this government is far better than the Roman government under which Jesus ﷺ was initially tried, was in fact a follower of Jesus ﷺ, and so was his wife. That is why he washed his hands off Jesus' blood. The governor, despite being a follower of Jesus ﷺ, did not show the courage that Captain Douglas showed. Jesus ﷺ was innocent in that case, just as I was in this.